It's time for the Italian Grand Prix in this F1 24 Career Mode Season 5, and it means it's time for chaos. Absolute chaos, because Monza always is categorically just mayhem with the, over-the-top slipstream anyway, as it is, let alone specifically with this track, with a long straight, only a couple of corners, and it's pretty much going to be a race of who can tactically stay at the front till the very end of the race to make that final switch of position on the last lap probably. But there's plenty to come before we get to that very last lap. And first of all, the laps in qualifying on Saturday to set the grid. I'm hoping we can go quite well. Obviously, we've got pole position in Spa, which I know has plenty of higher downforce corners, but I hope we would go well here at Monza, just as we did in Spa. Leclerc certainly is, as he tops the session in that first flurry of laps, but now we're down to P9. The track is evolving. Hulkenberg ahead of us in P7. Albon. Hamilton lower than us, though, so maybe the Toyota not got a great first lap in for Lewis Hamilton. What is Tsunoda got? And I don't know where on earth Max Verstappen is in all of that. It was a pretty mediocre first sector. Yellow, green in the middle, and it will only get us up into P7. I say only P7. Starting P7 is pretty damn great for the Italian Grand Prix, if I do say so, with the slipstream. But it's Ollie Behrman that takes all the plaudits. It's an incredible pole position for the Brit, but look at that, 0.009 off is Leclerc from a home race Ferrari pole position. That is incredible. Williams up there, no shock as well. Toyota, though, with Tsunoda doing very well in P4. Hamilton, not so much. So that's advantage Tsunoda in that kind of battle brewing, of course, as we look at the championship table. And it is all still to play for, of course. 10 points in it between Tsunoda and Hamilton. So Tsunoda is going to be really buoyed by that. But we're only, 6 points off Tsunoda now after those 2 wins in a row. So, dare I say, could we start to maybe believe maybe there's an outside chance of a Drivers' Championship challenge late into this season? Constructors-wise, it seems a little bit far-fetched unless Verstappen is going to start joining me and getting some wins or getting podiums again, because it's been a little bit of a topsy-turvy one for him. 10th place in Spain, then 1st, 5th place, then 2nd, then 10th. It's the consistency has been lacking for the Dutchman kind of ever since we got into that career-defined rivalry. I think that's honestly very uncharacteristically put pressure on Max, and he's buckled a little bit in terms of, every other race, it's just not the same sort of performance. But for us, aside from that DNF at the British Grand Prix, it's been an amazing run of form where we've not been outside the top 2. First, second, DNF, first. I'm only really now just clocking that run of form. It's really been quite something in this Red Bull, and that's why we are where we are in the standings. But this Italian Grand Prix, it's anyone's game. Really, in the entire top 10, it really is anyone. So let's just go to the grid and find out.
Right. We're back in Italy once again for another round of the Formula One World Championship. And what a great race is in store for us today, here at the oldest circuit on the calendar, which hosted its first race all the way back in 1922.
It's a bit overcast here at Monza as we form the grid for the race, and there's no forecast for rain. I actually would welcome some rain just to be a bit of a spanner in the works. I feel we kind of need it because we've got some very quick cars around this that love this sort of circuit. Williams absolutely loves this sort of circuit, but the high-tech car is clearly very slippery in his straight line, and he's going to be loving this. Behrman on pole, but Logan Sargent has out-qualified me. He's P6 here, so it's going to be a very competitive order. I think it's going to be one that's swapping left, right, and centre as we go to 5 red lights. So the Italian Grand Prix, lights out, and we're on the way at the Temple of Speed. It's initially a bad getaway for Sargent, but as we go up the gears, it's a drag race, and now the Haas Cadillac is down our inside. Hulkenberg Hulkenberg going for the double pass, maybe even triple pass from Carlos Sainz, as Behrman has lost it off pole position though. The inexperience is showing, and Leclerc, I'm sure for the adoration to the home crowd, is now in the lead of this Grand Prix by a decent margin once again. He did this in Spa at the start of the race, of course. In the end, we spoiled the party and we were able to get that race win at a very wet and wild Belgium Grand Prix in the last couple of laps and last corners. But Leclerc again showing promise at the start of this race. But will that Ferrari tyre wear come into play? That lack of race pace long term be to his detriment, because he's got a very quick man behind him of Yuki Tsunoda, but it actually may just swap to be Ollie Behrman, who equally is very quick as well. But Tsunoda, I feel, once he could get into a rhythm of clean air, could be looking to chase after Leclerc. But right now, that Ferrari, with such a big margin, honestly, all Leclerc needs to do is just stay in that sort of region of a gap for at least another 2 laps, and then he'd be laughing. I mean, look at this. Lap 2, he's already 2.2 ahead of Tsunoda. Behrman down to P4 as Ocon and Williams start to heat up. We've had Sargent so far all over the back of this, though, in contrast. So whilst Behrman's going backwards, Sargent is actually looking forwards, and he's still pressurizing me, and we're just struggling to really make any sort of headway on Carlos Sainz. Maybe now would be the time. We've done a purple middle sector, looking a bit quick now. Finally on lap 3, trying to get into a rhythm, but all of us with DRS, so it's a classic F124 DRS train. But coming out, break the Ferrari. It's a good lunge round the outside. We've saved battery to use on the exit, but the Ferrari has got a real good bit of traction on it, and clearly also just is working very well at Monza. Maybe, it's one of those seasons for Ferrari where they've had a season to forget. Maybe they've done all they can just to bring a good car for this one race for their home Grand Prix. I wouldn't put it past them, as Behrman is now down to P5. So you've got a lot of other drivers with more experience around him, using that to good use to overtake him. And, Behrman, no stranger to being disappointed around the Italian Grand Prix. Remember, I think literally last season, wasn't he leading at one point in this Italian Grand Prix? And then he swiftly got overtaken by multiple cars, and we might just try and overtake him as well. Obviously, our former Formula 2 teammate, we've got a bit more experience compared to him as well ourselves. So we know how to overtake around here, and hopefully know how to try and stay ahead of cars once we've overtaken them, as we have a bit of battery to use, but we don't need it at the moment, as we can just get the power down and keep in tow with Hulkenberg and Tsunoda. Hulkenberg looking to go around the outside at Parabolica. It's going to slow them both down and maybe invite us in, and that has allowed Ocon to stretch his legs. He has also broken DRS, so all of the action is from P3 downwards, and it's going to involve right now Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, ourselves, Behrman, both of us pulling to the right. It's 4 abreast maybe momentarily. It's a late lunge, and we've got it all crossed up, and oh my days, what timing, unreal timing. Ollie Behrman comes across our screen with an engine failure. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, we absolutely completely messed up that entire corner. We're lucky to still be in one piece. The rear locked up. We somehow avoided everyone. I was trying to overtake Tsunoda and Hulkenberg, do a double pass, but the problem was I had Behrman right on the side of me looking to pass me, so we had to go real late on the brakes, got it all crossed up, but then unfortunately for Behrman, that very second he suffered an engine failure. So it's going to be back-to-back disappointing Italian Grand Prix for the Brit. He's out, and we continue on and can live to fight for another day, but we can't be doing that again in terms of into turn 1, because I think we've used all our luck up then with that one brake zone. So coming back to the live action then, on to lap 7, and Sargent, well, if Behrman can't still fight us, then his teammate will. Logan Sargent up to P4. This is mystifying. This is just showing the high-tech really is enjoying this Grand Prix, with Sargent just performing well just for being in the cockpit. I doubt it's really anything to do with him. It's just that car is incredibly slippery, and unfortunately we're now just going backwards. So I spoke about experience, playing to my favor of knowing how to overtake and keep ahead. Right now I feel like I'm getting swallowed by a couple of cars here as Sainz is looking to overtake us and Tsunoda looking for the repass, and we've got no battery. What is going on? I'm scratching my head. How we just ended up with this mismanagement of energy as Hamilton's round. We nearly got done by 4 cars. We might get done by 3 here if Hamilton can finish off this move, and I'm having to again overuse the battery just to stay ahead of Lewis, and it's really not helping. We're saving ERS in the second sector, watching Sainz and Tsunoda fight as Sainz pulls off a great overtake on the outside. Lock up from me, going a bit wide. It's not been the best Grand Prix so far. You know, the opening couple of laps, it was quite promising, but now, having made that mistake at turn 1, it's kind of unraveling a little bit in terms of just having that composure lap to lap and maybe panicking with the ERS usage at times, and that's getting us into a really tricky spot where here, even with DRS open, I can't afford to deploy because then I'll have nothing on the exit of turn 1 as we try and tuck in for the move on Hamilton. But then look at the left-hand side. Albon and Hamilton playing ping-pong with me at turn 1. We bounce from the left to right to left again. And now we're down to P8. I'm asking for damage checking from my engineer. This is so far an Italian Grand Prix to absolutely forget. And it continues! Oh, we're having an absolute mare! Oh, shocking. Absolutely shocking. We've dipped a tyre into the grass. Oh, that parabolica. Well, at least I've joined Verstappen in the misery. Nice to see a teammate as we get boxed in. This is ridiculous. Look at this mess. Honestly, maybe 3 years ago, I would have said I loved coming to Monza because of the chaos like this. But now, literally, it's been like this for about 4 or 5 F1 games where it is literally just overtake, slipstream, and it's just mental. But it's all just always like that every single time. And it can be sometimes a little bit overboard like that. I mean, I know we made a mistake, but having so many cars close together, just repassing, it's just, it takes your toll, you know. The concentration you have to keep at the Italian Grand Prix is mental all the way to the last lap. It's a good pit stop. It's a good pit stop from Red Bull. That jumps us back ahead of quite a couple of cars there in the pit lane. And it's an earlier stop, by the way, lap 12. I decided to come in earlier, cut my losses on the medium tyre after we really did a number, scrubbing the surface in that parabolica issue. And now hoping to get a bit of an undercut going as we now overtake Norris, Vesti. So we have actually jumped back some good time here, because remember, Carlos Sainz was a car we were fighting before that big mistake, and now we're only 1.3 behind him. So we actually somehow have recovered from that massive error by just being in clean air. That's the thing, being in clean air, just concentrating on the lap time, the delta, what we're doing, and not having to worry about battery usage, slipstream, and overtaking. And Verstappen as well has done well. He's done the opposite. He's overcut a lot of people, and he's in P10 ahead of the pack of Norris, Perez, Alonso, Piastri, all the people that he was behind. He has managed to overcut them, so that's at least quite a double positive for Red Bull. Meanwhile, Hamilton and Tsunoda swapping positions. They're squabbling over 5 and 6 as it's Logan Sargent in a podium spot fending off Hülkenberg. And at the very front, well, Leclerc, he has been loving life here at the Ferrari home race. The Tifosi cheering him on as he is in acres of clean space all on his own as there's swapping going on all behind him. Hülkenberg Sargent swap, Hamilton Tsunoda squabbling still, and we are trying to catch up to Carlos Sainz. Meanwhile, the battle still goes on between the two Toyotas. There's a Williams in the middle of them now as Albon gets in between. Hamilton, though, really trying to repass his teammate. This is crucial for them. 10 points between them. If Tsunoda can just get a couple of points here today, that would put the pressure on Lewis, and of course vice versa. Lewis trying to alleviate that pressure. Albon has to get out of it, and he's now got got Sainz for company. I'm hoping now Sainz will join that train and then all just slow each other up, and then I can just subtly join that as well. To be fair, you can see already within 2 corners, I've already caught up to them, because that's how slow you go in dirty air around this circuit when you're fighting each other. And so all of a sudden we do have another chance to get back into this race. We're P9. This is back where we were before we made the mistake at Parabolica. So this is a kind of second chance. That undercut has given us a second chance to get back into this and at least recover, you know, from the original battle we were in before the mistake, which was this with the 2 Toyotas, with Albon, with Sainz. And you can see the real aggression going on between the 2 Toyotas as Tsunoda pulls out on the right. He tries to defend Hamilton and Albon, because Albon actually sees the opportunity to, I think, make a double pass, that was. And I think he's got ahead of everyone there. So he's now the leader of this train as we tuck up right behind Sainz, get oh so close to the wall and go for the move on the Ferrari up into P8. We've set a purple lap time, but then look, immediately as we start fighting with these guys, yellow, yellow on the top right. That is the stark contrast and the best showing of you know, what fighting does at Monza. You can go from being the quickest man on track to just setting yellows constantly, because that's how much time you lose, as we are now gaining plenty of battery use, stopping that halfway through the straight just to try and use the DRS and save it with the battery as we break down into turn 1 on the outside. A wide berth into that corner to give Hamilton the space to work with, not over fighting on the exit, because I know, let's just play patient, because looking at the mini-map, this may be the maximum we can hope for today. P5 as we now go for the opportunistic 1-2. Could it be 3? No, because Hamilton actually comes back at Tsunoda and we get tapped by Albon on the rear, I think that was, or just me locking the rears. Deja vu from that opening couple of laps issue in turn 1. And so again, adjusting actually the brake bias now to the front just to try and stop any rear locking happening again, as Ricciardo is out of this one. Not going to be any sort of virtual safety car at all, because no one else is having a problem at the same time. We get Albon, but now can we get in the middle of this Toyota battle? This is actually quite a good place to be, because we're, you know, fighting the 2 people we're trying to chase down the championship, but they're too concerned with each other as Hamilton is tucked up behind Tsunoda, and we go for a ballsy double dive. It's going to be a bit too tight though to get it done at turn 1 on Yuki, but we at least get Hamilton, but we get a warning, the collision with Tsunoda. So things are heating up with our former teammate from last season as we go for the pass on Tsunoda. I tried to cut across, but Tsunoda has other ideas. He's forced his way through. He cuts over the curb, gets the elbows out, and that is the first time I've ever seen Tsunoda hostile towards me in this series. He really wants to maintain the P5 and crucially get points not just on me, but his teammates for his championship chances as we go for again another pass to get up into P5. Meanwhile, ahead of us, Sergeant Hulkenberg still actively swapping for the podium spot. Ocon and Leclerc not challenged, so all the focus will be on that last podium spot, and this fight from P5 all the way down to P9. Incredible. Pretty much the entire top 10, that is, we're involved in, and we are now a sitting duck. I've got no DRS. I don't want to overuse the battery, so I stopped deploying. But for some weird reason, Hamilton just very weirdly tucked up behind me and compromised his own racing line. It allowed Sainz to come through. On the last lap now, we move from right to left, looking to sell Sainz the dummy into turn 1. But the Ferrari is great on power. Gonna have to look to make an overtake on the next left to right instead. Tuck up behind the Ferrari, then pull out to the left. Around the curve we go. Sargent is in P3 on the last lap here as, oh, Tsunoda from nowhere comes round the outside. Sainz has boxed me in. I was looking to make a move and go to the right. Sainz was defending the inside, of course, but as I did that, Tsunoda just barged through, and so we got boxed in, and instead we lost a position rather than gaining one. Can we now overtake the Ferrari in quick succession and then get onto the back of Tsunoda as there's a final swap for the podium spot? Hulkenberg will take P3. It's a big win. The Charles Leclerc at Ferrari's home race. It's Ferrari's first win of this season, and it comes on home soil as we look to go round the outside of Tsunoda on the last lap. Can we do it? No! The Toyota just has enough steam to stay ahead. Tsunoda, the big winner today. 5th place for him. Big points on Lewis. Points on me as well. I mean, we've gained on Hamilton, of course, anyway, because he finished a couple of positions lower. But the biggest day goes to Leclerc and Ferrari. It's a home win.
And Leclerc to the line, to the checkered flag. It's King Charles today. He wins.
To do it as a team on home soil, that really means something special. And you can see how much it means to them. The drivers involved as well. Great job by them today, of course, as always. But for the fans watching on too, a great display of teamwork here today.
It's a big result for Leclerc, and it's Ferrari returning to the top after some time in this season. But it's an even bigger day for Tsunoda. He's only 2 points off Hamilton, but look at us. We are now 9 points off the top of the championship. Dare I say, is there an outside chance? Maybe. In the Constructors, still very unlikely. The gap has actually grown to 44 points for Toyota. So, yeah, I think the Constructors, to be fair, as we've probably thought the entire season, is probably gone. And for most of the season, I thought the Drivers' Championship would probably be gone. And we're just trying to make the most of it and have some fun and maximize results in this Red Bull. But maybe there is an outside chance. But clearly, Toyota still has some kick in it, some pace in there. But, you know, Ferrari getting stronger again helps us to take points off. You know, races where High-Tech and Williams and Haas are strong helps our case if it takes points off Toyota, who are having a bit of a wobbly period right now. But you never know. In one instance, they could just, you know, go back to winning ways, let's say. But for now, that was a very chaotic and enjoyable Italian Grand Prix. If you have enjoyed it, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.